Can you really build an Xcode project on Windows? Can you really build an iOS app, a macOS app, a tvOS, maybe a watchOS app on Windows? Well, the short answer is yes, but it depends. It depends on how far are you willing to go. Apple still locks Xcode to macOS, but now with multiple realistic workarounds do exist, and we are going to cover them today. So, what is Xcode? This is kind of the most important question right over here. It's Apple's IDE. It's official IDE, and basically, it's the only way that you can submit iOS apps to the App Store. Please note that you can only, that's the only limitation. You have to submit with Xcode. You can build your projects with other IDEs, you can test them out if possible, but the only way to submit an iOS app is through Xcode. And as you know, Xcode is limited to macOS only. And Xcode doesn't run on Windows officially anyways. Before we dive into the free options that you want to consider, let's take a look at something that you want to think of before you dive deep into this. And there are two questions that I want you to ask yourself. Are you willing to spend money, or are you willing to spend time? There's no actual free perfect solution. There are only trade-offs, and you want to pick the perfect one for yourself. Now, the first option is to just build a Hackintosh. This one's is for tinkerers who already know what they are doing. You basically install macOS directly on a PC hardware, and that's not on a Mac hardware. That's why it's called a Hackintosh. It's been around for years, but since as of Apple Silicon, fewer and fewer people are using it. Now let's take a look at the pros and cons. I'm going to go through the pros and cons for all of them. Pros: fastest local setup if you get it working. It's kind of a headache to set these things up properly. Cons: it's in the legal gray area, so you might have issues with certifying your Apple developer account. Therefore, Xcode will not be able to upload your builds. It's in the legal gray area. Also, hardware compatibility issues might arise. It depends on your current PC hardware setup, which Hackintosh you can set up. It's really interesting. And then, future risk: macOS updates break the system. So if you install a Hackintosh, you usually want to stay on that macOS version, which is frankly not a good idea. Security updates, maybe a new version of macOS comes out, which is much better than the previous one. It's fine. Let's take a look at another option: virtual machines. You can install macOS virtually on Windows PC using VirtualBox, VMware, or UTM. Basically, this gives an environment on your Windows machine that has macOS installed on it. Therefore, you have access to Xcode. But there are, again, a few catches. Let's take a look at the pros first. Offline workflow, so you don't have to be connected to the internet. You will see when you do need to in just a second. But offline workflow, you can do that. And you have full access to Xcode, so builds will actually go up to the App Store when you are uploading for review. It's on the gray area, so it violates Apple's end user agreement. Because Xcode is meant to be only for macOS, and they kind of tend to be, they don't really like to have that on a virtual machine. Slow performance, and then, it needs strong CPU and RAM. Now, let's take a look at our first suggestion, which is basically what I suggest. But again, please, do you want to spend more money or do you want to spend more time? This is the cleanest, legal, and most future-proof from the options. Mac Stadium, Code Magic, Xcode Cloud, GitHub, macOS runners. These are basically you open up a browser and a remote Mac, an actual Mac, usually Mac Minis, it handles the actual Xcode build. So you kind of have a browser, and then you have macOS inside the browser, included with Xcode. It's the same environment that you would just have on an actual Apple machine, but not in your house, somewhere else. Now, the pros, 100% legal, stable, and supported, because you're actually basically streaming the screen of that Mac Mini. The cons, there's a monthly fee, which could vary widely, $20 to $100 per month. And again, this is you're streaming your display. Internet is required. So internet connection is required, which is not a big drawback, but you have to be aware of that. So let's take a look at these three suggestions and let's have a conclusion. So the first one, renting a Mac, which I really suggest, VirtualBox, and then Hackintosh. Legality. It's perfectly legal, renting a Mac. VirtualBox and Hackintosh, they're in the gray area. Because Apple really likes Xcode to be tied to macOS, therefore to an actual Apple machine. Costs for renting Mac are medium. VirtualBox, Hackintosh, they are low if you already have your PC and or just VirtualBox. These virtual systems cost nearly pennies. Difficulty. Renting a Mac is easy. You just go to the website and just set things up and you're ready to go. VirtualBox medium, you do have to partition your, it's a little bit on the difficult side. And then building a Hackintosh from scratch, it's really, really hard. There are tutorials out there, but it is hard. And best for renting a Mac, professionals, VirtualBox, hobbyists, and Hackintosh for tinkerers. Just want to make sure that you take a look at your current state and ask your questions. Do you want to spend more time or more money? What type of developer are you? Professional, hobbyist, tinkerer? Like 99% of developers, renting a Mac is still the best option. It's fast, it's safe, and it's on medium on cost.